Chinese President Xi Jinping's recent visit to Cambodia marks a significant moment in the geopolitical landscape of Southeast Asia as tensions escalate between the United States and China over trade policies. Arriving in Phnom Penh on April 17, 2025, Xi's two-day state visit serves as both a symbolic gesture of friendship and a strategic move in response to the ongoing tariff standoff with the U.S. The trip concludes a broader Southeast Asia tour that included Vietnam and Malaysia, highlighting China's efforts to consolidate its influence in a region increasingly caught in the crossfire of U.S. China relations. Upon his arrival, Xi was greeted by King Norodom Sihamoni, underscoring the importance of Cambodia as a key ally for China. At the Phnom Penh International Airport, Xi expressed his delight to return to Cambodia, emphasizing that the country occupies a priority position in China's neighborhood diplomacy. China will unswervingly support Cambodia in upholding strategic autonomy and pursuing a development path suited to its national conditions, he stated, as reported by the Chinese embassy. The backdrop of Xi's visit is marked by escalating trade tensions between the U.S. and China, particularly concerning tariffs that threaten to destabilize economies in Southeast Asia. Cambodia faces some of the highest proposed tariff rates from Washington, with a looming threat of a 49% tax on exports to the U.S. once a temporary pause expires. This precarious situation has led Prime Minister Hun Manet to describe China as an important and indispensable friend, highlighting the economic support Beijing has provided to Cambodia over the years. During his visit, Xi is expected to engage in discussions focused on enhancing bilateral trade and investment, areas of particular concern given the uncertainties posed by U.S. tariffs. Analysts predict that the talks will produce several agreements aimed at bolstering cooperation across various sectors as China positions itself as a stabilizing force amidst growing protectionism from the U.S. Trade figures underscore the deepening economic ties between China and Cambodia. In 2024, bilateral trade surpassed $15 billion, accounting for nearly 30% of Cambodia's total trade volume, with the balance heavily favoring Beijing. As Hun Manet pointed out, China's investments have been vital to the country's rapid growth, evident in projects like the Angkor Siem Reap Airport and infrastructure developments named after Xi. However, Xi's visit is not solely about bolstering economic relations. It carries historical weight. Coinciding with the 50th anniversary of the Khmer Rouge takeover of Cambodia, China's past as a supporter of the Khmer Rouge complicates the narrative but is seldom discussed openly. Instead, the focus remains on the future, with both countries looking to deepen their strategic partnership in an increasingly multipolar world. As Southeast Asia grapples with the ramifications of U.S. tariffs, Xi's visit underscores a broader trend of nations seeking to navigate the complexities of an evolving global economic environment. China's assertive posture seeks to present itself as a bastion of stability, a counterpoint to U.S. unilateralism. Yet the sustainability of this approach remains uncertain, particularly as the region's economies become more intertwined with global trade dynamics. Looking ahead, the impacts of Xi's visit and the ongoing trade tensions will likely reverberate throughout the region. The delicate balance of power between the U.S. and China will continue to shape the political and economic landscape of Southeast Asia as countries like Cambodia seek to secure their interests amid competing global influences. As the situation develops, it will be crucial to monitor how these relationships evolve and what they mean for the future of international trade and diplomacy in the region. In a significant diplomatic maneuver amid escalating trade tensions with the United States, Chinese President Xi Jinping landed in Cambodia on April 17, 2025. His visit underscores China's commitment to strengthening ties with regional allies, particularly as the U.S. government, led by President Donald Trump, imposes aggressive tariffs that threaten to reshape the landscape of international trade. The backdrop to this meeting is marked by Xi's ongoing efforts to cultivate influence in Southeast Asia, a region critical for China's strategic and economic ambitions. Upon his arrival in Phnom Penh, Xi was warmly welcomed by Cambodian King Norodom Sihamoni, with crowds waving flags and holding portraits of the two leaders. This visit coincides with the celebration of 67 years of diplomatic relations between China and Cambodia, which have deepened significantly over the years. The Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet is set to engage in talks with Xi, reflecting the two countries' commitment to mutual support amidst external pressures, particularly from the U.S. During his visit, Xi emphasized the importance of resisting hegemonism and protectionism, terms that are likely veiled references to U.S. policies. He applauded Cambodia's recent actions to deport Taiwanese citizens involved in fraudulent activities back to China, reinforcing the notion of solidarity under the One China principle, which views Taiwan as part of Chinese territory. This cooperation on legal matters represents an extension of China's influence over Cambodia, further solidifying their political alignment. The context of Xi's visit is critical as both China and Cambodia face considerable economic challenges due to Trump's trade policies. Trump has enacted tariffs of up to 145% on Chinese goods, prompting retaliatory measures from Beijing, which has responded with its own 125% tariffs on U.S. imports. Additionally, Cambodia has faced a 49% tariff on its exports to the U.S., a policy that has been temporarily suspended but still looms large over its economic landscape. Economists warn that these tariffs could create significant barriers to trade, potentially leading to a recession for both nations. The uncertainty surrounding Trump's trade strategies has global markets on edge, with analysts highlighting the potential consequences for both the U.S. economy and its relationships with key trading partners. In the wake of these developments, Xi's visit may be seen as both a diplomatic countermeasure and a strategic pivot towards strengthening ties with Southeast Asian nations. Experts suggest that Xi's outreach in the region is part of a broader strategy to mitigate the adverse effects of U.S. tariffs and to reinforce China's influence among its neighbors. Earlier this week, Xi also visited Malaysia and Vietnam, signaling a concerted effort to deepen economic and political ties throughout Southeast Asia. As Xi continues to foster these relationships, the long-term effects on regional dynamics and trade patterns will be critical to monitor. The unfolding trade war not only poses economic risks but also raises questions about the political stability within China itself. Analysts suggest that while Xi may not want to appear weakened by external pressures, the economic landscape necessitates a re-evaluation of priorities. A balance must be struck between maintaining a robust export sector and fostering domestic consumption, particularly as the Chinese economy slows down. As Xi Jinping's diplomatic engagements unfold, they will likely serve as a litmus test for China's resilience against U.S. economic policies. The immediate impacts of these trade tensions are felt across both economies, but the broader implications for regional geopolitics, trade alliances, and domestic policies will shape the future of China, Cambodia, and their neighboring countries. Looking ahead, the trajectory of U.S.-China relations coupled with Xi's strategic initiatives in Southeast Asia will be pivotal in determining the economic and political landscape of the region. The interplay between trade policies and diplomatic efforts will continue to influence the global order, with both nations navigating the complex waters of international relations in the face of mounting challenges. As the situation evolves, the world watches closely to see how these two major powers will respond to each other's moves on the geopolitical chessboard. In recent weeks, the escalating trade tensions between the United States and China have reached a critical juncture, prompting significant economic and political discourse on both sides of the Pacific. As President Donald Trump imposes tariffs that have surged as high as 245% on Chinese imports, the ramifications are reverberating across global markets and challenging the Chinese government's economic stability and political legitimacy. The backdrop of this trade war is rooted in Trump's aggressive trade policies, which were initially met with skepticism regarding their potential impact. However, with tariffs now exceeding 100% on numerous goods, the stakes have escalated dramatically. In response, the Chinese government, led by President Xi Jinping, has enacted retaliatory tariffs on American products, further deepening the rift between the two economic superpowers. This tit-for-tat strategy has not only rattled businesses globally but has also raised fears of a possible recession, with economists warning about the negative outlook for both economies. In a recent conversation with Yaxing Huang, an economist at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, insights were shared on the motivations driving China's approach to the trade conflict. Huang emphasized that while the Chinese Communist Party CCP does not seek a trade war, it is determined not to appear submissive to U.S. demands. They don't trust the Trump administration, Huang noted, indicating that even if concessions were made, the Chinese leadership doubts their longevity. Huang further elaborated on the structural vulnerabilities within the Chinese economy, stating that the country's reliance on exports has made it particularly susceptible to external economic shocks. Exports account for nearly a third of its GDP, and up to 20% of that goes to the U.S., he explained. This dependency creates a precarious situation for China, especially as consumer confidence domestically remains fragile, compounded by a sluggish property market and rising unemployment. Moreover, amid these challenges, Xi Jinping's recent tour of Southeast Asia, including significant stops in Malaysia and Vietnam, highlights China's strategy to solidify its regional alliances in the face of U.S. protectionism. During these diplomatic engagements, Xi emphasized China's commitment to collaborating with its Southeast Asian neighbors to tackle economic challenges posed by global uncertainties. In the face of shocks to global order and economic globalization, China and Malaysia will stand with countries in the region, he stated, a clear indication of China's desire to position itself as a stabilizing force in the region. Huang suggests that the ongoing trade war may ultimately catalyze a necessary shift within China's economic strategy, pushing the government to focus more on developing its domestic market. However, he warns that this transition poses a dilemma for the CCP, as it would require relinquishing some control over the economy to foster a more consumer-driven society. To really increase the domestic market potential would require them to give up some of their power, Huang noted, underscoring the tension between economic reform and political control. As the U.S. continues to exert pressure, the Chinese leadership's calculations are complex. While they may appear resilient on the surface, the reality is that prolonged economic pain could threaten the CCP's grip on power, especially if unemployment rises and social discontent grows. The stakes are high, and both leaders are currently locked in a strategic standoff, each hoping to outlast the other while weighing the risks and potential repercussions of their respective policies. Looking ahead, the resolution of these trade tensions remains uncertain. The dynamics of U.S.-China relations will likely evolve as both nations navigate the intricate balance of competition and cooperation with economic realities forcing changes in strategic thinking. As Huang aptly puts it, the Trump trade war is forcing that issue on them in a way that was not there before. The future therefore points toward a critical crossroads for both countries, with potential shifts in policy and economic strategies likely to shape global markets for years to come. In a significant diplomatic engagement, Chinese President Xi Jinping met with Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim on April 16, 2025 to discuss the future of bilateral relations and cooperation between the two nations. The meeting, held at Seri Perdana, the Prime Minister's official residence in Putrajaya, was marked by a warm welcome from the Malaysian youth, who celebrated Xi's visit with traditional music and dance. This meeting follows the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of diplomatic ties between China and Malaysia, a milestone that underscores the historical depth and cultural connections shared by both countries. During the discussions, President Xi emphasized the long-standing friendship between China and Malaysia, describing it as a bond forged through history, cultural exchanges, and mutual cooperation. He remarked, over the past 50 years, China-Malaysia relations have yielded bountiful results. In the next 50 years, we must continue to seize the initiative and build a high-level strategic China-Malaysia community with a shared future. This statement not only reflects the optimism of both nations but also sets a clear agenda for future collaboration. To this end, she proposed a three-point plan aimed at strengthening the strategic partnership. First, he stressed the importance of maintaining strategic independence and enhancing high-level coordination. Both nations, he noted, should resist external interference and support each other in safeguarding sovereignty and security. A 2+2 diplomatic and defense dialogue mechanism will be established to bolster cooperation in national security and law enforcement. Second, she highlighted the need for combined efforts in development, particularly in areas such as the digital economy and green technology. He pointed out the compatibility of China's modernization goals with Malaysia's Economy Madani initiative, indicating a path for enhanced cooperation in cutting-edge industries. This includes plans to develop Malaysia's ports into crucial hubs for the new international land-sea trade corridor, thereby facilitating trade and investment. The third point of Xi's proposal focused on deepening inter-civilizational exchanges. He called for the advancement of Confucianism-Islam dialogue and the expansion of cultural, educational, and tourism exchanges. Notably, he mentioned ongoing cooperation in giant panda conservation, emphasizing the importance of fostering people-to-people connections. Prime Minister Anwar expressed his gratitude for China's long-standing support and collaboration, reaffirming Malaysia's commitment to the One China policy and its readiness to work closely with China on various fronts. He underscored the significance of Xi's visit, noting the record number of bilateral cooperation documents exchanged covering critical areas such as the Global Development Initiative and artificial intelligence. The discussions also touched upon broader regional dynamics, with both leaders expressing a commitment to working together within the ASEAN framework to promote regional peace and stability. Anwar praised Malaysia's theme for its ASEAN chairmanship, inclusivity and sustainability, reflecting a shared vision to address global challenges through cooperation rather than confrontation. As this diplomatic engagement concludes, it lays a foundation for future collaboration that could redefine the economic landscape in both nations. The exchange of over 30 bilateral cooperation documents signifies a robust commitment to mutual growth and development. Looking ahead, the partnership between China and Malaysia is poised to not only enhance bilateral ties but also contribute significantly to regional prosperity and stability in an increasingly complex global environment. As both countries navigate the challenges of the 21st century, their collaborative efforts will be critical in shaping a future that prioritizes both economic resilience and cultural understanding. In a significant demonstration of diplomatic alignment, Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Cambodia on April 17, 2025, marking the conclusion of his three-country tour in Southeast Asia. Xi's visit underscores Cambodia's strategic importance to China amid escalating tensions with the United States. Greeted warmly by King Norodom Sihamoni and former Prime Minister Hun Sen, Xi's arrival was characterized by a ceremonial display of national pride featuring an array of flags and flowers that highlighted the bilateral camaraderie. During his address at Phnom Penh International Airport, Xi emphasized the robustness of China-Cambodia relations, declaring them as solid as a rock. He highlighted the shared commitment of both nations to defend international fairness and justice amid global shifts. China regards Cambodia as a key direction of its neighborhood diplomacy, he stated, further indicating a desire to enhance political trust and strategic cooperation. The Chinese leader's remarks came at a time when regional dynamics are increasingly influenced by the broader geopolitical contest between the U.S. and China. Xi's visit comes in the wake of heightened trade frictions and growing protectionist sentiments, particularly from the U.S. In his speech, he urged Southeast Asian nations, including Cambodia, to unite against hegemonic policies and forge a path of cooperative growth. This aligns with China's ongoing narrative of advocating for a multipolar world where regional alliances can counterbalance Western influence. The Chinese president's language reflects a purposeful strategy to solidify alliances within Asia, emphasizing the necessity of regional unity in facing external pressures. A particularly notable aspect of Xi's visit was his avoidance of direct mention regarding the ambitious canal project proposed in Cambodia, which has drawn both interest and scrutiny. This omission suggests a cautious approach as both nations navigate complex international waters, balancing domestic aspirations with foreign investment concerns. Analysts interpret this as Xi's way of steering clear of contentious issues while still promoting bilateral ties. Xi's visit also highlights the historical context of China-Cambodia relations, which have been characterized by mutual support in core interests. This relationship has intensified over the years, particularly as both nations have sought to leverage their geographical and economic proximities to foster development. As she noted, as the world undergoes a century of rapid change, Asia stands at a new starting point for achieving overall revitalization. This reflects an acknowledgement of the shifting global landscape where economic power increasingly resides in the East. Looking ahead, the implications of Xi's visit may extend beyond mere ceremonial gestures. With the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative expanding its reach across Southeast Asia, Cambodia stands to benefit significantly from increased investment in infrastructure development. However, this relationship also places Cambodia in a delicate position as it must balance its commitments to China against the backdrop of U.S. interests in the region. As Xi Jinping concluded his Southeast Asian tour, the message was clear: strengthening ties within the region is paramount for China as it positions itself against what it perceives as external threats. The future trajectory of Cambodia's development, intertwined with Chinese investment and support, will likely play a vital role in shaping the geopolitical landscape of Southeast Asia. With ongoing global shifts, the region's nations will continue to navigate their relationships, carefully weighing the benefits of cooperation against the complexities of international diplomacy.